A mysterious flying object is racing toward Earth at incredible speed. After breaking through the planet's atmosphere, it heads straight for the bedroom window of a young boy named Josh. At that moment, Josh is looking up at the night sky through his telescope. Suddenly, he spots the strange object hurtling directly toward him. Startled, he jumps out of the way just in time, narrowly avoiding a collision. Hearing the loud impact, Josh's mother, Gina, rushes into the room. Josh excitedly tells her everything he saw, but she doesn't believe his story. Assuming it's just his imagination running wild, she tells him to get some sleep since it's already very late. Once Gina leaves, Josh cautiously approaches the mysterious object again. That's when something even stranger begins to happen. The moment feels impossible, and it's only the beginning of an incredible mystery. Nearly 3 months pass after Josh's strange encounter. Then, one ordinary day, something extraordinary happens near the Statue of Liberty. At first, it looks like a meteor, but it soon becomes clear that it's something far more unusual. Emerging from the sphere is a man dressed in a crisp white suit and tie. He looks completely human on the outside, but appearances can be deceiving. In reality, he is a highly advanced alien being, capable of instantly repairing both his body and clothing using sophisticated technology. Every movement he makes feels unnaturally precise, almost robotic. Just minutes after arriving on Earth, he approaches a nearby boat, leading to his very first encounter with humans. A woman on board notices him and greets him with a warm, friendly smile. Trying to respond, the mysterious visitor smiles back, but in such a strange and unnatural way that the entire interaction instantly becomes awkward. His expression seems more like an imitation of a smile than the real thing, leaving everyone around him feeling confused and uncomfortable. Meanwhile, at a local police station, the sergeant assigns 2 officers, Stevie and Dooley, to investigate the mysterious fireball that was reported earlier. What they don't realize is that the object they're looking for is already wandering through New York City. As the strange visitor explores the city, he becomes fascinated by humans. He carefully observes their behavior, studies their expressions, and even starts copying the way they move and interact with one another. Trying to blend in, he stands in the middle of a family photo as if he belongs there. But despite all his observations, there's still one thing he doesn't understand: human traffic rules. While crossing a busy street, he fails to realize that the signal is telling pedestrians to stop. Suddenly, a car slams into him, sending him flying across the road. By pure coincidence, the driver is Gina. Shocked by what happened, Gina rushes over to help. The impact appears severe, and his legs look badly broken. But to her amazement, the mysterious man simply stands back up as if nothing happened and calmly walks away. That's when the truth begins to emerge. The man isn't actually a human at all. In fact, he isn't even a living person. He's a highly advanced spaceship disguised as a human being. Hidden inside are dozens of tiny alien pilots working together to control every movement. These miniature aliens look remarkably human themselves, except for their incredibly small size. Even more interesting, they don't use traditional names. Instead, each one is identified by the number printed on their uniform, making their entire society operate with military-like precision. The leader of the tiny crew is their captain, who designed the entire ship to resemble his own appearance. As soon as the accident is over, the captain orders an immediate damage assessment and instructs his team to begin repairs. Once the situation is under control, he reminds everyone of their primary mission: recover the mysterious orb that crashed on Earth. The orb is extremely important to them. Their home planet, Neil, relies on ocean salt as its main source of energy, making the orb far too valuable to lose. Fortunately for the crew, fate seems to be on their side. The alley where they are hiding happens to be just a short distance from Josh's house. Unbeknownst to them, the orb is still in Josh's possession. The next morning, just as Josh is about to leave for school, he glances out the window and spots the strange man standing in the alley. Excited, he immediately tells his mother. The two rush outside to investigate, and the moment Gina sees him, she recognizes him as the same man she accidentally hit with her car. Feeling guilty, she begins apologizing all over again. Inside the disguised spaceship, however, panic spreads among the tiny aliens. This is the first time any of them have ever had a direct conversation with a human. After a brief moment of hesitation, the captain activates the ship's communication system and attempts to speak. Unfortunately, the speaker is set far too loud. The booming voice blasts through the air, causing Gina and Josh to cover their ears in pain. The crew scrambles to fix the problem, adjusting the system until the volume finally returns to normal. Once everything is working properly, the captain calmly replies, "Your apology is accepted," but Gina isn't satisfied with leaving things there. "No, that's not enough," she says with a friendly smile. "Why don't you come over to the house? I'll make you a cup of coffee." For the tiny alien crew, what started as a simple mission to retrieve a lost orb has suddenly turned into something they never expected: their first real invitation into a human home. When Dave arrives at Gina's house, she offers him a glass of water and casually asks for his name. The question catches the captain off guard. He never expected to need a human name. Thinking quickly, he turns to number 3 and asks which name is the most common in the area where they landed. A few seconds later, the answer comes back: Dave! And just like that, their mysterious visitor introduces himself as Dave. As Gina and Dave continue talking, talking, something suddenly grabs his attention. Sitting nearby is a photograph of Josh, and in the picture, Josh is clearly holding the very orb the crew has been searching for. At that moment, Dave realizes he has finally found the clue he needs. Without wasting any time, he says goodbye to Gina and sets off to find Josh. However, as he makes his way through town, his formal white suit attracts a lot of unwanted attention. People keep staring at him, making it obvious that he doesn't fit in. Seeing this, the captain makes a decision. We need a new look. The crew guides Dave into a clothing store, hoping a more casual outfit will help him blend in with humans. After selecting a shirt, the team attempts to dress the ship in its new clothes. Unfortunately, controlling a human disguise turns out to be far more complicated than expected. Within moments, Dave becomes hopelessly tangled in the shirt. The more he struggles to free himself, the worse the situation gets. He stumbles around the store, knocking over displays and sending merchandise crashing to the floor. The chaos continues until a store clerk notices the problem and steps in to help. After rescuing Dave from the clothing disaster, the clerk picks out a much more comfortable outfit for him. There's just one problem. Dave doesn't have any money. Rather than admitting it, he secretly scans a few bills with the ship's advanced technology. The crew instantly analyzes every detail of the currency and creates a perfect duplicate. Then, once Dave steps into the fitting room, the ship manufactures an exact copy of the cash. The counterfeit money looks completely real in every way, although the crew's unusual method of producing it is definitely something humans would find more than a little strange. Now dressed like a normal person, the crew resumes its search for Josh. Meanwhile, at school, Josh has been carrying the orb with him and secretly playing with it, but trouble finds him when a bully from his class forcibly snatches the orb and refuses to give it back. A short time later, Dave arrives at the school and heads straight to Josh's classroom. After finally meeting him, Dave learns the bad news. The orb isn't with me anymore, Josh explains. A kid took it, but he's already gone. Realizing they're running out of time, the two decide to track him down together. Their search leads them to a local store that the boy frequently visits. Unfortunately, when they get there, he's nowhere to be found. Before they can continue looking, the situation takes a dangerous turn. Two armed robbers suddenly storm into the store and begin threatening everyone inside. Shouting orders, they demand money and force customers to lie face down on the floor. Terrified, everyone immediately obeys. Everyone except Dave. Still unfamiliar with human behavior and the meaning of threats, he simply stands there staring at the robbers. One of the criminals points a gun directly at him. Inside the ship, number 2 instantly becomes furious. We should teach these guys a lesson, he tells the captain. The robber then swings a punch at Dave, expecting an easy target. Instead, Dave casually catches his fist in midair. The second robber immediately raises his revolver and aims it straight at Dave. Josh is amazed after witnessing his new friend's incredible strength. The way Dave handled the robbers makes him look more like a superhero than an ordinary person. Excited, Josh turns to him and says, "You already know my mom. Until we get the orb back, you can stay at our house." Inside the ship, number 2 immediately objects to the idea. He doesn't trust humans and wants to stay focused on the mission, but the captain sees things differently. "We need someone who knows this planet," he explains. "If we want to find the orb, having Josh as our guide could be very useful." With that, the crew agrees and heads to Josh's house. Later, Josh watches Dave play a video game using only one hand while effortlessly beating level after level. His jaw practically drops. "Wow," Josh says. "You're amazing." Not long after, Gina returns home from work. Josh eagerly tells her everything that happened at the store and how Dave protected everyone from the robbers. Grateful for what he did, Gina thanks Dave for helping her son and invites him to stay for dinner. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, officers Dooley and Stevie continue investigating the mysterious fireball near the Statue of Liberty. As they examine the impact site, they carefully clean the area and create a cast of the crater left behind. But when the outline becomes visible, Dooley is stunned. The shape of the impact mark looks exactly like a human face. Neither officer realizes that the face belongs to Dave, the same man who is currently sitting miles away, having dinner with Gina and Josh. Back at the house, the evening goes surprisingly well. For the tiny alien crew, every moment is another opportunity to learn about human life. After dinner, Dave notices a picture hanging on the wall. Curious, the captain asks Gina what it represents. Gina smiles and explains that it's an image of a heart, a symbol connected to one of humanity's most important emotions, love. The explanation leaves the crew confused. Love is a concept they've never truly understood. Seeing their puzzled expressions, Gina laughs softly. "Maybe one day," she says, looking at Dave, "you'll understand what it feels like." The conversation continues for a while, and for the first time since arriving on Earth, the crew begins to feel surprisingly comfortable around humans. But eventually, Dave decides it's time to rest. With the day finally coming to an end, he excuses himself and heads off for the night, unaware that his journey on Earth is about to become far more complicated than he ever imagined. Later that night, night, Dave has an unexpected encounter with a homeless man. Despite having very little for himself, the man notices Dave out in the cold and generously offers him his only blanket. The simple act of kindness leaves a powerful impression on the tiny aliens inside the ship. They are amazed that someone with almost nothing would willingly give away the little he has to help a stranger. Moved by the man's compassion, Dave quietly lies down beside him. Soon afterward, the ship enters sleep mode, and most of the crew settles in for the night. But not everyone is ready to rest. The captain and number 3 remain fascinated by humans and continue searching for ways to better understand them. They meet inside the cockpit, where number 3 excitedly shares a discovery. "I found something humans seem to love," he says. It turns out to be an old Christmas movie called It's a Wonderful Life. Curious, the two decide to watch it together. As the film unfolds, they become unexpectedly emotional. The story's themes of friendship, sacrifice, and human connection affect them far more deeply than they anticipated. For a brief moment, they find themselves sharing a genuine emotional connection, almost forgetting their usual professionalism. Embarrassed by the experience, they quickly compose themselves and decide to refocus on their mission. The following morning, Officers Stevie and Dooley return to the police station and present their findings from the crash site. They explain that the evidence suggests an alien life form may have arrived on Earth inside the mysterious fireball, and that it appears to have a human-like appearance. The sergeant is far from convinced. "How could anyone survive a fall like that?" he argues. "That sounds completely ridiculous." Dismissing the theory as nonsense, he orders them to stop chasing wild ideas and focus on real cases. But Dooley refuses to let the mystery go. Convinced that he's onto something important, he takes matters into his own hands. Using the details gathered from the crash site, he creates a sketch of the mysterious visitor and has it published in the local newspaper. His hope is simple. If the strange newcomer is somewhere in the city, someone is bound to recognize him. Meanwhile, when Dave woke up, the captain discovered that the ship only had 12 hours of energy remaining. He immediately ordered the crew to focus on finding the orb. Without it, they would never make it back to their home planet. The three headed to an amusement park where Dave ended up entering a hot dog eating contest. Thanks to his robotic-like abilities, he devoured hot dogs at an unbelievable speed, leaving everyone else far behind. Dave received a teddy bear as a prize. At number 3's suggestion, the captain had Dave give the teddy bear to Gina. The gesture made her genuinely happy. For a while, everything was going perfectly, but then the bully who had stolen the orb spotted Josh at the park and started bothering him again. This time, Josh stood his ground and demanded the orb back. The boy refused and even tried to attack Josh. Just then, Dave stepped in. He grabbed the bully's arm and effortlessly lifted him upside down. As the boy dangled in the air, the orb slipped out of his pocket and fell to the ground. At last, Dave had recovered the missing orb. He set the boy back down and gave him a warning. Leave Josh alone. With that, the problem was finally solved, and Dave was free to return to his mission. But before he could leave, Gina and Josh asked him to stay and spend more time with them at the park. Number 2 immediately protested, insisting they should focus on getting home. But the captain disagreed. "We can always complete the mission," he said, "but opportunities to understand humans like this don't come along every day." After that, the three of them stopped at a carnival game where players had to knock down bottles with a baseball. On his first try, Dave threw the ball too gently and completely missed the target. Determined to win, the captain ordered another attempt. This time, Dave put far too much force behind the throw. The impact was so powerful that the ship suddenly shut down. Inside the cockpit, the entire crew lost balance as systems went offline. When Dave opened his eyes again, he was lying in a hospital bed. The doctors were confused. They couldn't detect a heartbeat, so they rushed to revive him using electric shocks. After several attempts, the powerful bursts of electricity had an unexpected effect. Not only did they reactivate the ship, but they also fully recharged its energy reserves. Relieved to see Dave awake and healthy, Gina and Josh finally relaxed. Soon afterward, all three of them left the hospital together. Before leaving, the captain asked Dave to invite Gina and Josh to dinner. The invitation immediately annoyed number 2. "Have you lost your mind?" he asked the captain. "Why are we getting so close to humans? We already have the orb. We should be focused on going home." The captain didn't take the criticism well. Angered by the comment, he ordered number 2 to leave the cockpit. After the argument ended, Dave spoke with Gina again and invited her and Josh to dinner. This time, he chose a Cuban restaurant. But while they were making plans, a guard nearby overheard the conversation. The moment she saw Dave's face, he remembered the sketch that Officer Dooley had published in the newspaper. Suspicious, he immediately called the police and reported that she had found the man they had been searching for. Later that evening, Dave, Gina, and Josh were enjoying dinner at the restaurant. The crew inside the ship was having a great time as well. After a while, Gina invited Dave onto the dance floor. The captain tried controlling the ship's movements and joined the dance, but it quickly became obvious that he wasn't very good at it. That's when number 4 stepped in and showed everyone how to dance properly. Soon, the mood became fun and lively again, but number 2 wasn't enjoying any of it. While everyone else was distracted, he secretly gathered a group of crew members and began planning a mutiny against the captain. As if that wasn't enough, officers Dooley and Stevie suddenly arrived at the restaurant and arrested Dave. They took him to an interrogation room, determined to find out who or what he really was. Meanwhile, inside the ship, Number 2 and his supporters stormed to the cockpit and announced that they were taking control of the mission. When the captain tried to stop them, Number 2 overpowered him and declared himself the new captain. Since the rebels had weapons, nobody dared challenge them. Tension quickly spread throughout the crew. Outside, Dooley and Stevie were growing frustrated as Dave refused to give them any useful answers. They stepped outside to discuss what to do next, completely unaware that the leadership inside the ship had changed. Now in command, Number 2 made a shocking announcement. The war between aliens and humans begins now. His first order was simple: get Dave out of there. He then instructed the crew to activate the proton weapon hidden inside Dave's finger. Seconds later, a powerful energy blast tore through the interrogation room wall. The sudden attack sent the officers into panic. They immediately opened fire, but Dave activated the heat shield built into his white suit. Every bullet was stopped effortlessly. Inside the ship, chaos erupted. Crew members scrambled in every direction, and Number 17 became so terrified that he accidentally fell out through Dave's ear and landed straight into a cup of coffee. Outside, the firefight continued. The police kept shooting, but the ship's protective shields made their weapons useless. Dave then headed toward the fire exit. Gina and Josh tried to reach him, but under Number 2's control, he ignored them completely. To clear a path, he launched another attack and escaped the building. The moment he stepped outside, dozens of police vehicles surrounded him. Without hesitation, Number 2 fired at one of them. The explosion sent the car flying and nearly crushed an officer. Instead of being worried, Number 2 enjoyed every second of it. He was convinced that defeating humans would be easy. However, the ship's energy reserves were starting to run low. He ordered Number 3 to take them to the Statue of Liberty, but Number 3 had already abandoned the cockpit and gone to rescue the captain. After sneaking past security, she knocked out the guard watching him and finally set the captain free. Together, they began planning a way to stop Number 2 before his actions caused a disaster. But before they could do anything, more guards arrived. The two were captured and dragged into the cabin. The moment Number 2 spotted the captain and Number 3, he made a ruthless decision: throw them out of the ship. With a single command, both of them were ejected through Dave's nose. The second they landed outside, they realized how dangerous the human world really was. At their tiny size, everything around them felt enormous. Suddenly, a basketball bounced down right beside them. The two immediately ran for their lives, afraid of being crushed. They sprinted toward a lamppost, but before they could catch their breath, a dog spotted them and started sniffing around. Once again, they were forced to run. Then things got even worse. The captain landed safely on the sidewalk, but Number 3 crashed into the middle of a busy street. To make matters worse, one of her feet got stuck in a piece of chewing gum. The captain rushed to help her, but just then, a speeding taxi came racing toward them. After escaping death once again, they spotted Dave walking down the street and knew they had to reach him. To catch up, the captain grabbed onto a plastic bag, using the wind to carry both of them through the air. For a moment, it looked like the plan would work. Then, a passing bus slammed into the bag, sending them crashing onto its windshield. Luckily, the windshield wiper flung them off at the perfect moment, and they landed directly on Dave's shoe. Without wasting a second, they began climbing up his leg, desperate to get back inside the ship. Meanwhile, inside the cockpit, Number 2 ordered maximum speed. But there was a problem. The battery was almost depleted. Knowing time was running out, he used Dave's strength to stop a moving taxi in the middle of the street. The shocked driver could only stare as Dave opened the door and calmly gave a single order: take me to the Statue of Liberty. Back at the police station, Stevie called for backup while Dooley examined the coffee cup where Number 17 had fallen. To his surprise, the tiny alien told him the entire truth about Dave, the crew, and their mission. After hearing everything, Dooley realized they weren't the enemy and decided to help them. Meanwhile, Gina, Josh, and Mark set out to find Dave. Josh was worried that his friend was in serious trouble. Before long, Dave arrived at the Statue of Liberty, the exact place where he had first landed on Earth. Now under Number 2's control, he prepared to complete his plan. He intended to throw the orb into the ocean so it could absorb massive amounts of salt and generate enough energy for the journey home. The rest of the crew immediately objected. They warned that draining such a huge amount of energy from the ocean could disrupt the planet's balance and put the entire world in danger. But Number 2 didn't care. Whether humans survived or not meant nothing to him. Ignoring everyone's warnings, he ordered the orb to be thrown into the open sea. Fortunately, the captain and Number 3 reached the engine room just in time. They activated Dave's secondary control system, causing one arm to grab the other and temporarily stop the orb from being released. For a moment, it looked like they had succeeded, but Number 2 refused to give up. A fierce struggle for control broke out inside the ship. During the chaos, Dave lost his grip and the orb slipped from his hand and plunged into the ocean below. Within seconds, the orb unleashed its power. A massive whirlpool began forming in the water, growing larger and stronger with every moment. The crew watched in horror. If it continued, knew the consequences could be catastrophic. Realizing there was no time left, the captain rushed back to the cockpit and ordered Number 2 to step down immediately. Number 2 resisted, but this time the crew stood with their true leader. The rebels quickly overpowered him, dragged him away from the controls, and locked him inside the rear section of the ship. The captain regained control of the ship, but the orb was still pulling massive amounts of water from the ocean. There was only one option left. They could use the ship's remaining energy to pull the orb back. The problem was that doing so would leave them without enough power to return home. For a moment, the captain and the crew faced an impossible choice: save themselves or save Earth. In the end, they chose Earth. Every last bit of energy was redirected into Dave's left arm. The ship then activated a powerful magnetic field, reaching out toward the orb with everything it had left. Slowly, the orb began moving back. The force grew stronger and stronger until Dave finally pulled it free from the whirlpool's grip. Without hesitation, he launched the orb high into space. Just like that, the disaster was over. The ocean calmed, the whirlpool disappeared, and Earth was saved. A short time later, Gina, Josh, and Mark arrived at the scene. They found Dave standing motionless, completely drained of energy. Moments later, Dooley, Stevie, and Number 17 also arrived. Still unsure of what was happening, Stevie raised his gun and aimed directly at Dave. But this time, Dave couldn't activate his shield. The ship had no energy left. Even a single bullet could destroy the ship and everyone inside it. The moment Josh realized the danger, he rushed forward to help his friend. Grabbing a police taser, Josh fired it directly at Dave. A massive surge of electricity shot through the ship. For a second, nothing happened. Then suddenly, every system came back online. Lights flashed across the cockpit, engines restarted, and power surged through the entire ship. The crew erupted in celebration. With the ship fully powered again, the captain finally emerged through the upper hatch, Dave's mouth, and revealed himself to the humans for the very first time. Everyone stood in shock as the tiny alien introduced himself and explained who they were, where they came from, and why they had traveled to Earth. Once the truth was out, everything finally made sense. The captain thanked Josh for his bravery and for never giving up on his friend. He also thanked Gina for teaching him something his species had never truly understood: love. Through his time on Earth, he had come to realize that the feelings he shared with Number 3 were more than friendship. For the first time, he understood what Gina had been talking about. With their mission complete, the crew prepared to return home. But before departure, Number 17 suddenly popped out of Officer Dooley's pocket and reminded everyone that he had been left behind. The crew quickly brought him back aboard, finally making the team complete again. Moments later, Dave's thrusters activated and the ship prepared for liftoff. Just as they were about to leave, several FBI vehicles arrived and surrounded the area. A massive net was launched over Dave, trapping him before he could take off. Within seconds, agents rushed in from every direction, but the crew had one final trick. They activated the emergency escape system hidden inside Dave's leg. Instantly, his leg transformed into a powerful rocket pod. Before anyone could stop them, the escape pod blasted into the sky and shot towards space at incredible speed. As the ship disappeared among the stars, Gina and Josh watched from below. This time there was no fear and no sadness, only smiles. Their friends were finally going home, and as Dave vanished into the distance, Gina and Josh waved goodbye, knowing they would never forget the extraordinary visitors who had changed their lives forever.